Stephen Jardine in for Kaye Adams. Now, try to get into a pub on St Patrick's night and you'll get some idea how many Scots like to celebrate their connections to Ireland. Down the years, many Irish people have come and settled here and their culture has become intertwined with ours. This summer, though, we're giving something back when Glasgow will be represented at a special international festival over in Donegal. The person doing just that is 24-year-old Joanne Ferry, who joins me now, as does acclaimed historian Owen Dudley-Edwards from Edinburgh University, who knows all about our links across the Irish Sea. Good morning, Owen.
Good morning.
Good morning, Joanne, to you.
Good morning, thank you for having me.
Nice to have you here with me as well. Right, just how Irish are you, Joanne? Tell us about your ancestors.
Well, I have Irish grandparents on my dad's side of the family. Both are from Donegal, but from different areas. My gran's from Carndonagh, she's a McLaughlin, and my papa's side are the Ferries from Crickmore and Dungloe. And both of them came over when they were kind of 10, 11, 12 kind of age, separately. They came over to Scotland and they met in Govanhill and married there and moved their family through to Paisley, where they opened a pub, the Alamo Bar in Caledonia Street, and that's how I came to be.
Is this something you're particularly proud of, the Irish part of your family?
I mean, my Irish heritage means as much to me as my Scottish heritage does. It's always been a big part of my life. We've spent a lot of time in Ireland while I've been growing up to visit family members. The majority of my family over there are, second cousins and great aunts and uncles, and they're very spread out. So it's great to have that connection. It's great to have family elsewhere and always be learning about your heritage and keeping that a part of you.
Now, I said that you're going to give something back this summer. You're proving the point with this. You're going to take part in the Mary From Dungloe Festival, International Festival. What does that involve?
The Mary From Dungloe International Festival takes place in Dungloe every year. This year is the 48th annual one, and it started in 1967. The festival celebrates girls of Irish descent, so we have selecting committees all over the world. Last year's winner was from Sydney, Australia, and I've been picked this year to represent Glasgow, so I will be over there competing for 2 weeks amongst the other Marys.
Now, I'm not the sharpest knife in the box sometimes, Joanne, but I happen to notice your name's Joanne and it's called Mary From Dungloe, so how does this work?
Well, it's the story of Mary From Dungloe is an age-old Irish love story.
So you don't have to be a Mary to take part. You're not there under
No,
false
you don't
pretenses.
need to be.
Okay. So what's the story?
Mary From Dungloe tells the story of Mary Gallagher, who was from Lettercott in Dungloe. She fell in love with an Irish man who had just came back from America, and in those days there were certain courtship kind of rituals, and if they wanted to be together they had to have her father's blessing. And after the kind of intervention of friends and neighbours kind of against the relationship, her father eventually said, I can't bless this, and so they couldn't be together. So the love of Mary's life left again and went to America, and she was left brokenhearted, and she was in Dungloe and wasn't kind of outwardly bitter, but she was known to be brokenhearted, and she eventually left and went to New Zealand, and she died a short time later. So
crikey.
Yeah, so this many
Give me
years
a happy
later,
ending here.
well, many years later, the song was penned, Mary From Dungloe, that told the story, this love story, and it's been covered by many famous Irish artists, one of the most famous being Daniel O'Donnell. And this gave cause to the festival in 1967. They decided they wanted to celebrate girls of Irish heritage who had left Dungloe and came back, and it's an amazing opportunity to get people of not just the girls, but to have loads of Irish who have descended elsewhere in the world, get them back to Dungloe, have them all celebrating together, and doing so in a fun and friendly environment. And there is a friendly competition aspect. Obviously, there's going to be, I'm representing Glasgow, there's a girl representing, we've got Philadelphia, we've got New York, we've got Belfast, we've got Dungloe, all over. So there is friendly competition in it, but it's a great opportunity for everybody to just get together and have a great time.
Right, so what do you have to do when you take part in the competition? What are you doing?
Well, I will be over there for 2 weeks. So the festival this year is from the 25th of July to the 3rd of August. I will be over for the full 2 weeks. There's a number of events. The girls will go on the radio in Dungloe on Highland Radio. We'll be involved in family fun days. There's actually a sports day that I need to take part in. That's going right back to the primary school days of sack races and bouncy castles, so I'll need to get into training for that. But and we visit people in the local hospitals and take part in loads of fundraising events.
And do you need a special skill? Do you need to be able to, is there like a party piece that you've got to be able to do?
There is a talent portion, yes.
Okay.
So,
and what's yours?
I sing, so I'll be singing for that.
What are you singing?
I intend to sing Angel by Sarah McLachlan.
No pressure then.
So no pressure.
Maybe a couple of bars just now, just as practice for you. You know, given we've got an audience here, it might be good just to rehearse it here now. What do you think?
Could give it a go.
Come on, let's do it.
You spend all your time waiting for that second chance, for a break that will make it okay. There's always some reason to feel not good enough, and it's hard at the end of the day. I need some distraction. Oh, beautiful release. Memories seep from my veins. I'll leave it at that.
Without any warm-up, that's the winner of the Mary From Dungloe International Festival, I'm sure. That's fantastic. Good luck to you when it comes along.
Thank you.
Is it a bit like the Rose of Tralee? Some people will know that competition. Is that?
There are similarities between the...
we don't like them though, do we? This is much better.
Anything that supports heritage, I am absolutely willing to support, for sure.
All right, as is, I'm sure, Owen Dudley-Edwards, who joins us on the line from Edinburgh this morning. Owen, welcome to the programme. Sorry to keep you waiting there.
Not at all. It was a delight to wait, and very important on the whole question, because, of course, Donegal has this very special relationship to Scotland, a greater one than any other Irish county virtually, because migration, not just immigration, but migration keeps on going from people going from Donegal during the winter when they can take part in the construction trades, and coming back from Glasgow and the west of Scotland to take part in the harvest in Donegal itself. And of course Donegal is farther to the north, in just that place that Joanne was saying she was descended from, Carndonagh, in a show in which thrusts more northernly than any part of Northern Ireland, which is a nice Irish joke for you.
So what's the root of all this, Owen? Why is Irish heritage so strong here?
Because we're really the same people. Even the name Scotia itself was originally Latin for Ireland. And of course, there were tremendous Irish migrations over the years. St. Patrick comes from Scotland, probably, to convert the Irish. St. Columba comes from Ireland to convert the Scots. And you've got this mingling, where, especially in terms of mercenary warriors coming from each side, and then a huge migration in the 19th century of workers, as Scotland was industrialising much faster than Ireland was. And the growth of canals and railways and the construction industry itself brought the Irish, the Protestant and Catholic, over here to Scotland. And the fact of the matter is that both Ireland and Scotland have an instinctive kind of thrust towards democracy. They're essentially people thinking of themselves as people, much less hierarchical than, shall we say, the English or the French. And from that point of view, the thrust towards democracy comes out in the Irish, where popular politics was developed with Daniel O'Connell, which interested the Scots a great deal. And of course, the Scots themselves had a more democratic form of religion in Presbyterianism than any other of the places where Protestantism took root. So that while they were two different kinds of religion, sometimes at war with each other, they were in some ways the same kind, because they were religions very much based on the people rather than on high hegions. So that you found that both Glasgow Celtic and Glasgow Rangers were teams which were started in friendship with the ministers and priests, anxious to encourage the kids to play football rather than lounging around the street corners. So it was only from the 1920s onwards that Rangers and Celtic became sectarianism. They started out by being the brave kids who didn't mind working together while snooty football clubs despised them.
So what other evidence have we got, Owen, of the cultural integration between Ireland and Scotland on this side of the water?
Well, I think there's a great deal politically speaking. For instance, the land movement in Ireland, the land agrarian movement in the late 70s, early 80s, to pressure to break up the large landowners, that influenced Scotland very much. And you had the Crofters' Revolt, the Crofters' War in the 1880s. And again, the the development in the 20th century of popular politics in the Labour Party, where the fact that so many Irish had come into it, partly because they had been voting Liberal, and then when Lloyd George sent in the Black and Tans, they turned towards Labour. And so from that point of view, you've got the Irish in the Labour Party finding themselves with very much common interests with the Scots, and you'd find it very hard indeed, looking at the Labour Party over the 20th century, to separate out Irish and Scots together. They recognised each other as the same kind of person. They were mates, if you like, working on the construction industry, working on the railways, etc., etc. And they found that they liked one another, they got on, and they reacted the same sort of way. It's not necessarily completely democratic, but it's thrusting towards democracy in both cases.
Oh, and what's the deal with these? Rose of Tralee and the competition that we are talking about here, the Mary From Dungloe International Festival. Have you been across to these, by the way?
Certainly not. My wife wouldn't let me.
As a man who studies these things, culture that is, why are they so big in Ireland? And why do we have Mary from Dundee, for instance? Why do we have these things over here?
Well, Mary from Dungloe has the great advantage that it's obviously a story which has a certain touch of the fairy story about it. You know, the prince coming from over the sea, and when it's a happy ending, then the beautiful girl disappearing. Now, put that in terms of fairy stories, and you'll find a lot of motifs very much like it. Mary from Dundee would be much more a 20th century or a late 19th century story. There are a huge number of Irish in Dundee working in the jute trade, and they no doubt had their own little romances and so forth. But the archetypal, mythological, heroic kind of story associated with brave or sad women, that goes deep into the past. And that's why Dungloe, and not so much Tralee as the wilder shores of Kerry, would be producing versions of that nature. We need to build up urban legends. We haven't. But we still, even when we've been in the urban areas for generations, we like to go back to a remote romanticism. But one of the most important points I think I should make while I'm here is that Ireland and Scotland have shared tremendously important writers and thinkers. Patrick McGill, who was the strolling labourer brought over from Donegal, wrote Children of the Dead End, which is the great novel about migrant labour in Scotland just before World War I. And then he wrote a feminist novel, The Rat Pit, describing the appalling fate for various girls. So that stage is a much sadder story than Mary from Dungloe, but it's very well done, and we should remember Patrick McGill. His works are reprinted, and they're really World War III reading. And then, of course, also you had James Connolly, whose people were from Monaghan, but who himself was born here in Edinburgh and came back and was shot for his part in the Easter Rising of 1916, the greatest socialist theoretician these islands have produced, and somebody who showed the relevance of nationalism and socialism working together and informing each other.
I take your point, but I do think we need a Mary from Dundee festival. Would you give that your backing?
That would be the worst thing I could possibly do.
Kiss of death.
I would think so, absolutely. On the other hand, now, there's an idea to have the highest point of the festival being the kiss of death, where the unfortunate girl sees me and immediately turns into ashes.
I think we're on to something here, actually. Joanne, would you be prepared to get involved with this once you win this competition this summer?
It's difficult to say.
We'll negotiate, I think. Listen, let me just clear up here with you. So it's July 25th to August 3rd, Joanne, that you're over there doing this. What's the prize if you win? If you are, you've got your sash on, I should say, today.
I've got my Glasgow Mary sash on. I have my tiara with me, which has become my uniform since I've started.
Can I just say, don't walk down Sucky Hall Street after this wearing a tiara and a sash saying Glasgow Mary, because that's basically every hen night I ever see.
I was just about to say, you have no idea how many times I have been approached and asked if I'm on a hen night. But it gives me a chance to just tell them what the festival's about, so it's all good PR.
Pop the tiara on for me. We'll put this on our Facebook page as well.
We'll try and get this on over your
headphones
as well.
It's pretty impressive. Actually, it fits a treat on your headphones.
There we go.
Yeah, sorry, what is the prize if you win all of this?
Well, when I go over to Dungloe, none of the girls take their tiaras with them, it's just the sashes, and then one girl will be crowned the overall winner, Mary from Dungloe, and they'll get a brand new tiara, and there's slight prizes kind of donated by local businesses and things like that.
Well, so it's not exactly Miss World. You're not off to the Philippines for 2 weeks or something, is it?
No.
You're going to get a toaster.
But the prizes don't.
It's not that you don't.
I actually didn't realise there were extended prizes until after I had already been crowned Glasgow Mary. I'm really doing this for my family and for myself. It's something I've always wanted to do, and to honour my
to
Irish
celebrate
roots,
your Irish culture as well. It's fantastic. Well, I wish you all the very best. I see from my notes here that you've actually got a degree in broadcast production.
I do, yeah.
Well, you're far too bright to be in this studio with me, so I would send you off the very best of luck. And will you come back and see us when you are crowned?
Absolutely.
With the proper crown. And Owen Dudley-Edwards from Edinburgh with the background to all this. Thank you very much for your time this morning as well, Owen.
Not at all. I should tell you that my honeymoon was in Dungloe.
That's a good omen, I reckon. And how was it? Well, let's not get into detail,
nice.
but
Thank
as a
you
place.
very much. We had a lovely time.
I'll check with Mrs. Dudley-Edwards about this afterwards. Thanks for your time, Owen. Good luck, Joanne.